In this tutorial for the layered Earth, we will examine a lesson, we'll navigate through a lesson, and we will illustrate some of the components of a typical lesson. Clicking on the Student Lessons icon takes us to the next screen, which lists the 7 major units that together make up the layered Earth. Let's have a look at one of these in detail. Let's click on Unit E, Earthquakes. This screen now shows us the lessons that together make up the Earthquakes unit. We can see that under Unit Lessons there are 5 lessons in total. Let's have a look at the last one, E5, Living with Earthquakes. At the very top of the screen then, we have a guiding question which states, what is the impact of earthquakes on society? The purpose of the guiding question is that it provides context for the lesson. Students should be able to answer this question at the end of the lesson. Underneath the guiding question, we have the key concept for this lesson. In this case, it states earthquakes have major social and economic consequences. The key concept is the major idea that is central to this lesson. In this case, we only have one key concept, but many of the lessons have more than one. Underneath the key concept, we have the actual parts or components of the lesson. And here we can see there are actually 7 parts to this particular lesson. Let's look at one of these in detail. Let's go to E5.4, Related Causes of Damage, Tsunamis. The first thing we'll notice here is on the right-hand side over here in the main panel that our screen has changed. The screen will always change in context to what our lesson is all about. In this particular case, the screen is now illustrating the DART buoys, the location of the DART buoys, or the Deep Ocean Assessment and Reporting of Tsunamis, the buoys that are actually used as part of the Tsunami Early Warning System. In the left panel over here, we actually have our text in the actual lesson. You'll notice at the very beginning, in the first paragraph, we've actually got a bolded word, the word tsunami. If we move our cursor over that, what we see is that we have a rollover definition. All words that are bolded have rollover definitions associated with them. To the right, we have a picture of a tsunami, the Indonesian tsunami, and notice that all of our pictures are interactive in that if we move them over, the cursor over them, we get to enlarge the picture, and we can see this in the main panel. Further down in the lesson, we see we've got an interactive right here. Again, if we click on that, the interactive will appear on the right-hand side of the screen. This interactive over here has 2 buttons here. We can either watch how a tsunami is produced, or we can go through it step by step and learn individually how the tsunami is produced and how it transmits its energy to the shore. Over here back again in the main lesson here, we see that the word Banda Aceh, which is the major location of the tsunami in Indonesia, is highlighted. If we click on that, we can see then that our screen changes and shows the actual location of Banda Aceh so that students can have context for what this lesson is all about. You'll notice as well that in addition to the location of Banda Aceh, we've also got some more background information giving the tsunami frequency in that particular area of Indonesia. Going further down here, we have another example of a photograph that's interactive. We can see the influence, the effect of the tsunami on Banda Aceh before and after the tsunami. Below that, we have 2 sections here that are designed to give further information and to capture the interest of students. We've got a word link, for example, right here, and this describes the origin of the word tsunami. Underneath it, we've got a Did You Know? A Did You Know is an interesting factoid that is designed to give extra perspective and information on this material, and that's designed to be of interest to the students. For example, in this particular one, we illustrate the fact that tsunamis are often called tidal waves, but that is incorrect since, of course, tsunamis really have absolutely nothing to do with tidal waves whatsoever. As we cursor on further down, we can see we've got a math link right here. This math link is an example of one of the numerous connections we have associated with lessons. We've got travel links, we've got history links, we've got technology links. In this particular case, it acts as an enrichment activity to provide extra information and more background to the subject material. If we click on the math link right here, we can see that what we're doing here in this math link is we're calculating tsunami warning times. Students are given the equation that describes the speed of waves traveling over water. Lots of other information about the speed of a wave dependent on the depth of the water. And we've got numerous questions here that illustrate this, that provide analytical opportunities for students. At the very bottom here, we've got a View Answers button. For all of our exercises, there's always the option for students to learn their answer for self-assessment purposes. Clicking this button again hides the answers, and again we can see back to the lesson, takes us back to the lesson on tsunamis. Cursoring down again here, we can see that what we've got is a learning activity. A learning activity is an interactive activity in which students explore the concept of tsunamis by making use of information that is going to be presented to them in the right-hand main panel. In this particular learning activity, we will be investigating the March 28, 1964 earthquake in Prince William Sound, Alaska. First thing here, we click on it here and we can see a tsunami travel time map for this particular earthquake. If we go over to the main window, we can see that we can rotate the Earth, we can zoom in, we can do all kinds of things. These particular icons over here to the right also allow us to do this particular information. As we continue on with the learning activity, the next step here we click, we have 5 observation areas that are indicated on the map right here. As students work through the activity, they determine how long it takes to reach these locations, the speed of the waves, how much warning time there is, etc. At the very bottom again, we've got a View Answers button, as in all of our activities, to both reinforce the main concepts and to allow students to undergo self-assessment. At the very bottom of the screen, we've got a link that goes on to the very next part of the lesson. In our case, let's go right back to the main lesson screen right here, and we can see what here are 7 lessons again. Every lesson has 2 extra components at the very end. First is lesson summary and review questions. If we go to lesson summary, we can see that it gives an overview of the main ideas and concepts of the lesson. It also ties us back into the vocabulary link here. These are all the new words that have been introduced during the course of the lesson. And again, we can see that the rollover definitions for each of our terms are still here. Clicking on review questions takes us to the final screen. Every lesson has a review component associated with it. The purpose of the review component right here is again to support the major concepts and for students to be able to do self-assessment. And as again with all of our questions, if we click on View Answers, we can see all the answers again so that students can see how they're doing. At the very bottom here, we click on Unit E, we return to earthquakes, and we can go on to another lesson.